Welcome to TechDaily.AI, your source for technical information. This podcast is sponsored by Stonefly, your trusted solution provider and advisor in enterprise storage, backup, and disaster recovery, hyperconverged in VMware, Hyper-V, Proxmox cluster, AI servers, and public and private cloud. Check out stonefly.com or email your project requirements to sales@stonefly.com for more information. Okay, so today we're diving deep into something pretty concerning. It's this global trend, the industrialization of cyber scams, particularly in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, it's really striking. What we're seeing isn't just, small-time stuff anymore.
Exactly. It feels like these operations have evolved, they're sophisticated, large-scale, and their reach is, well, it's international now.
Absolutely.
So our mission here is to kind of unpack the key parts of this. Look at the scale, the methods, the global impact. We want to give you a clear picture without getting bogged down in overly technical jargon.
Sounds good. It's a complex issue, definitely worth exploring.
All right, let's unpack this. So this shift, the UN report talks about a big transformation, right?
It does. It highlights that cyber scam operations aren't just random groups popping up independently anymore.
So what are they then?
We're seeing these consolidated criminal organizations emerge, mostly based in Southeast Asia.
Consolidated, like merging or working together much more closely.
Exactly. And they have global ambitions. They're operating on an industrial scale now.
An industrial scale that paints quite a picture, so it's moved way beyond fragmented, smaller operations.
Very much so. It's more organized, more sophisticated in its structure.
And these groups, they seem to be clustering in specific places, like creating hubs.
That's right. They're sort of coalescing around certain locations.
Yeah.
Technology parks, dedicated business zones, even casinos, interestingly enough.
Why those places specifically? What do they offer?
Well, it seems to be a combination of things. Firstly, some level of safety, maybe less intense law enforcement scrutiny.
Okay.
Then there's the necessary infrastructure, reliable internet, physical space for potentially large numbers of workers.
The practical stuff they need to actually run these scams day to day?
Precisely. And crucially, these locations often provide easier opportunities for money laundering, moving the vast sums of money they generate.
So it's like they've built this whole ecosystem, both physical and digital, to support the crime.
That's a good way to put it. A self-sustaining ecosystem for cybercrime in the region.
And the financial fallout is huge. The estimates for 2023 in East and Southeast Asia,
Well, what was it?
$37 billion.
$37 billion, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a staggering figure.
It really underscores the immense scale, doesn't it? The financial clout these operations now have.
Absolutely. It's not just petty theft. It's impacting economies, eroding trust in digital systems.
And you don't get to figures like that with simple tricks. The technology must be getting more advanced, too. We've heard warnings about this.
Definitely. Building on earlier trends, these syndicates are really leaning into more advanced tech.
Such as, what are we talking about specifically?
Things like artificial intelligence, for one.
Mm-hmm.
Also more sophisticated malware, and even deepfakes are coming into play.
Wow. AI and deepfakes. How are they actually using those in scams?
Well, AI can be used to personalize scams at scale, making phishing emails or messages much more convincing. Advanced malware can hide better, steal more effectively.
And deepfakes.
Deepfakes.
Yeah.
Imagine getting a video call that looks and sounds exactly like your boss asking for an urgent money transfer, or a loved one in fake distress. It makes the social engineering aspect incredibly potent.
That's genuinely frightening. The potential for deception is enormous.
And they're using these tools for large-scale fraud, but also for things like underground banking operations. It shows a high level of technical skill.
You mentioned scale. There was this one platform highlighted, right? Huyoni Guarantee.
Yes, based in Cambodia initially, it recently rebranded as Hawawong.
And this thing was big.
Huge. It's a Chinese language platform, and it reportedly grew to almost 1 million users, 970,000 users, and thousands of vendors.
Nearly 1 million users just on one platform.
Just on that one. It became a kind of central driver for cyber-enabled fraud in the whole region.
And its reach wasn't just regional, was it?
No, that's the other key point. It established subsidiaries internationally. Places like Canada, Poland, Hong Kong, China, Singapore.
Canada and Poland. That shows real global ambition moving beyond Asia.
It really does. It demonstrates how far their network extends.
And the money flowing through it.
Tens of billions of dollars processed since 2021. Just staggering amounts.
Tens of billions. So it's like a criminal enterprise toolkit.
Essentially, yes. A one-stop shop is how it's been described.
Providing what?
Access to the tech, the infrastructure, data.
Yeah.
All the resources needed for cybercrime, anything an illicit actor might need.
That level of organization is, well, it's industrial, like you said, and running something that big needs people. Lots of people.
Which leads us to one of the darkest aspects of this, the so-called scam compounds.
Right. These are in special economic zones, casinos,
Yeah.
across several Southeast Asian countries.
Yeah, places like Cambodia, Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, the Philippines. These zones house these massive operations.
And they're run by captive workers?
Thousands of them, yes, captive IT workers.
How do people end up there? Are they coerced?
Often they're lured from other countries.
Ah,
China and India are mentioned frequently. But it's wider than that with fake job offers, promises of legitimate, well-paid tech work.
and then what happens?
When they arrive, their passports are often taken, and they're basically forced to work in these scam centers under horrible conditions, controlled, threatened. Escape is incredibly difficult and dangerous.
So it's modern slavery essentially fueling this cybercrime boom.
It's a deeply disturbing human trafficking element intertwined with the financial crime.
And the types of crime they're forced to commit? It's not just one thing, is it?
No, it's a whole range of illicit online activities, operating illegal online gambling platforms, software services for scams,
Payment processing, too.
unlicensed payment processors, yes, cryptocurrency exchanges as well.
And they adapt, right? They're moving into newer tech.
They are. More recently, we're seeing them get into stablecoins and leveraging blockchain networks. They're quick to exploit new financial technologies.
It really shows their adaptability. And this expansion, it's not just staying within Southeast Asia. You mentioned the subsidiaries, but the operations themselves are spreading.
That's a really crucial point. These Asian cybercrime cartels are pushing outwards.
Where to?
We're seeing operations pop up in Africa, the Middle East, South Asia, even some Pacific Island countries.
Africa and the Middle East, too. Wow.
And the recruitment isn't just from Asia anymore either. They're reportedly pulling people in from as far away as Europe and Latin America.
So it's becoming a truly global network, both in terms of where they operate and who they exploit.
Exactly. This kind of subtle and ongoing spillover, as it's been called.
And that allows them to target, well, everyone, a much more diverse range of victims globally.
Which unfortunately leads to dramatically higher profits for the cartels, more influence.
And all that illicit money,
Yeah.
billions of dollars, gets plowed back into the machine.
It generates massive amounts of illicit capital that they can then reinvest, fueling more growth, more sophistication, more expansion. It's a vicious cycle.
And how are they getting away with setting up in all these new places? Are they just finding gaps?
They're very strategic about it. They often shift their bases or set up new ones in regions where law enforcement might be, let's say, less equipped to handle this specific type of crime.
Exploiting weaknesses, basically.
Yes, things like limited coordination between different agencies, maybe not enough forensic or investigative capacity for complex cybercrime, or restrictions on sharing intelligence across borders.
Creating a more permissive environment for themselves. You mentioned the Pacific Islands earlier.
Yeah.
How are they establishing themselves there?
Yeah, reports indicate they're gaining footholds in countries like Fiji, Palau, Tonga, Vanuatu,
Oh, just setting up scam centers.
often more subtly, by investing in businesses that look legitimate on the surface.
Like what?
Casinos, casino junkets, hotels and resorts, travel agencies, things like that.
So using legitimate businesses as a cover.
Precisely. These investments help them conceal a whole range of illegal activities. Online gambling, yes, but also potentially drug trafficking, human trafficking, migrant smuggling, and definitely money laundering.
It's a very sophisticated way to blend in and hide their core operations.
It makes detection and enforcement much harder.
But law enforcement isn't completely blind to this, right? There have been some successes.
No, absolutely. It's important to mention that there have been significant busts.
Whereabouts?
Agencies in some African countries, Zambia, Angola, Namibia, were mentioned, detected and disrupted some of these emerging Asian cybercrime cartels between 2023 and 2024.
Resulting in arrests.
Hundreds of arrests, yeah. People from various countries. Chinese nationals, Cubans, Namibians, Singaporeans were all implicated in those operations.
And elsewhere.
Nigerian police also reported major disruptions of Asian fraud networks, arresting nearly 1,000 criminals involved in things like crypto investment scams and romance scams. Many East and Southeast Asian nationals among them.
So there are efforts, definitely. Counter operations are happening.
They are.
But
Well, despite these successes, the overall assessment, particularly from the UNODC, is still quite stark. Meaning that the situation is evolving so rapidly, the scale, the tech, the geographic spread, that it's, and I quote, rapidly outpacing government's capacity to contain it.
outpacing the response. That's worrying.
It is. And, here's where it gets really interesting, or perhaps alarming.
Go on.
It's the sheer interconnectedness. You have these scam compounds in Southeast Asia, linked to financial subsidiaries in Europe and North America, linked to front operations in Pacific Islands.
It's a global web.
A global web.
Yeah.
And the speed they adapt, adopting new tech like AI or blockchain, almost instantly.
Yeah.
It just highlights how complex this whole problem is.
Combining sophisticated tech with the brutal exploitation of people and jurisdictional weaknesses.
Exactly. It presents this huge, multifaceted challenge for law enforcement and cybersecurity efforts worldwide.
So, wrapping this up, what does this deep dive really mean for you listening?
Well, I think it shows a threat that's highly organized, very technologically savvy, and it's expanding fast. It's not some distant problem. It has global reach.
Yeah, the industrial scale, the tech advancements. It really underscores that we all need to be more vigilant, more aware online.
Absolutely. And the fact that they're building these complex infrastructures, the compounds, the international networks, using things like blockchain, it suggests this isn't going away soon. It's a long-term challenge that will keep evolving.
Which really brings us to a critical question, doesn't it?
Which is,
how can we actually get better at fighting this? How can international cooperation between police, cyber agencies, even tech companies be seriously ramped up?
and how can we use technology defensively, innovate faster than they do, to counter these transnational networks effectively?
That's the big question.
It may be something else to think about.
Hmm.
Consider the impact of these massive illicit financial flows. Tens of billions, maybe more. What does that do to the global economy?
And could these super organized, wealthy criminal groups diversify even further into other serious crimes?
It's certainly a possibility worth considering. A lot to think about.
Indeed. Thank you for taking this deep dive with us.